Hello grade 11s, welcome to this lesson on probability in games. Most people think that probability in games only applies to gambling. However, even a game as simple as snakes and ladders has elements of chance in it. Many feel that it is this chance or probability in a game that makes it exciting. We can calculate the probability of winning any game, but real life does not always do what we expect it to. Even though the odds are hugely against anyone who plays the national lotto, there are still winners every week. This is because there are two types of probability: theoretical probability and relative frequency. Theoretical probability tells us that a coin will land on heads half of the time we toss it. When we toss the coin in real life, it may not land heads up 50% of the time. It might land heads up 60% of the time. This real-life measurement is called relative frequency. Let's explore this concept further by taking a look at an example. A spinner was used in an experiment. The results of the experiment were recorded in a table. The number 1 was spun 26 times. 2 was spun 18 times. 3 was spun 33 times. 4 was spun 14 times. 5 was spun 27 times. 6 was spun 32 times. 7 was spun 30 times, and 8 was spun 20 times. The spinner was spun 200 times. Now that we've seen the tables, we can calculate the relative frequency of the different numbers. For comparison, let's first calculate the theoretical probability of landing on the 7. The number of desired outcomes is 1. The number of possible outcomes is 8. The probability of landing on a 7 is 1 over 8, or 12.5%. Now let's compare this theory to reality. Remember that we calculate relative frequency in the same way we calculate probability. What is the relative frequency of the number 7? From the table, we can see that 7 was spun 30 times. The number of desired outcomes is 30, and the number of possible outcomes is 200. The relative frequency with which a 7 was spun is equal to the recorded number of desired outcomes over the recorded number of possible outcomes. The relative frequency is 30 over 200, or 15%. Now, as we can see, the two answers are quite different. Relative frequency comes from true experiments and would always differ from experiment to experiment. This means that if we were to spin the spinner another 200 times, we would not land on 7 30 times again. We would get a different set of results. On the other hand, theoretical probability will always have the same answer. Let's work with this a bit more. See if you can find the relative frequency of even numbers by yourself. Even numbers on the spinner are 2, 4, 6, and 8. The number of desired outcomes will be 18 for 2, 14 for 4, 32 for 6, and 20 for 8. The total is 84. Therefore, the relative frequency for the even numbers is 84 over 200. Let's use this to revise how to convert a fraction to a percentage. To express the answer as a percentage, we divide 84 by 200 and multiply by 100. This gives us 42%. Now let's calculate the theoretical probability of spinning an even number. There are 4 even numbers, so the number of desired outcomes is 4. The number of possible outcomes is 8. The probability of spinning an even number is 4 over 8, which is equal to half. This is equal to 50%. Once again, we see that the theoretical probability and relative frequency are two different values. Let's look at another example. The dartboard has 4 sections. A dart has an equal chance of hitting either section. This means that the theoretical probability of a dart hitting any particular section is 1 over 4. 2 friends throw darts at the board 54 times. They hit green 14 times, yellow 12 times, red 13 times, and blue 15 times. Let's calculate the relative frequency of hitting red. Red was hit 13 times, so the number of desired outcomes is 13. The number of possible outcomes is 54. Therefore, the relative frequency of hitting red is 13 out of 54. Once again, we can see that the relative frequency and the theoretical probability give us different values. Thank you for joining us, grade 11s. Remember to look at the tasks for this section in the Working with Probability task video. You'll also be able to learn more about probability on our website, www.mindset.co.za/learn.